The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus went with James and John straight to the house of Simon and Andrew. Now, Simon's mother-in-law had gone to bed with fever, and they told him about her straight away. He went to her, took her by the hand, and helped her up. And the fever left her, and she began to wait on them. That evening, after sunset, they brought to him all who were sick and those who were possessed by devils. The whole town came crowding round the door, and he cured many who were suffering from diseases of one kind or another. He also cast out many devils, but would not allow them to speak, because they knew who he was. In the morning, long before dawn, he got up and left the house and went off to a lonely place and prayed there. Simon and his companions set out in search of him, and when they found him, they said, "Everybody is looking for you." He answered, "Let us go elsewhere, to the neighboring country towns, so that I can preach there too, because that is why I came." And he went all through Galilee, preaching in the synagogues and casting out devils. The Gospel of the Lord. Great things come in small packages. I'm not talking about myself. No, I have this little gadget, which was really a few years ago just unthinkable. With this little gadget, I can check the weather anywhere in the world. I can listen to music. I can search the internet. I can even look into other people's churches and see what's what. I can send and receive messages from anywhere in the world. It's amazing, and yet it's so small. If you remember back just a few years ago, mobile phones they were this big. I would love to have one of these now. I'm sure they're collector's items, real antiques. It's amazing to think that this small gadget has more computing power in it than the Saturn V rocket, which was used to take the first men to the moon and back. That small package is a great thing. And by the way, it's also a telephone. You know, the Gospel of Mark is a small package, but it offers great things. It's the shortest of all the four Gospels. It's the most rapid reading of the Gospels. Mark covers a lot of ground in a short period of time. We remember that we have four Gospels, and they give us four different viewpoints of the same story. It's like the Holy Spirit set up a string quartet. He set up Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A string quartet, I am told, has a cello, two violins, and a viola. They each have very distinct sounds and notes, but all blend in harmony together. Each of the evangelists writes from their own perspective. They tell of the same story, but just from a slightly different angle. All, of course, guided by the Holy Spirit. Mark's special contribution is that he wants to portray Jesus as the servant. He focuses on what Jesus did, not so much on what he says. Mark's gospel is short on detail compared with the other gospels. And key words in Mark that demonstrate this are words like and now, and immediately. You know, Mark said this happened, and then this happened. Now this happened, and immediately this happened. Bang, bang, bang. It's action-packed. We saw that in the gospel today. We see in today's gospel it begins on leaving the synagogue. Immediately following the action we saw in the synagogue last week when Jesus heals the man possessed by an unclean spirit. And we pick up the action when Jesus goes to the house of Simon and Andrew, and he finds Peter's mother-in-law is sick, and he heals her. You know, we don't get details about what he says. He just takes up her hand and she gets up and then she serves him. You know, it's short on detail. All we know is he heals her. Then look what happens. We hear that evening after sunset. You know, the Jewish people would have to wait until after sunset so that the Sabbath day was over, and then they would be able to travel. Remember that on the Sabbath day, you could only walk a Sabbath walk, which is about 915 meters or so, about 1,000 yards in old money. The whole town hears of all the healing in the synagogue and of the healing of Peter's mother-in-law, and they rush with their sick to Peter's house. The house is surrounded, and so is Jesus. Now, suddenly Jesus seems to have become our one-man hospital. He is so besieged that he can't even pray in the house. He has to head out secretly into the countryside in the dark of the early morning. And when his absence is detected, his disciples go looking for him. Hey, they say, when they find him, everybody's looking for you. That they seem to think that he is an accident, an emergency centre that should be open all hours. Now, of course, it's good work to heal the sick. And of course, those who love the sick are right to want them healed. And yet, how absurd it is to suppose that prayer should take second place to work, no matter what that work is. And it's sad and understandably absurd to suppose that the mission of Jesus is to be a doctor without borders. So maybe it isn't hard to figure out what Jesus was praying about in the early morning in the countryside. Each healing Jesus does is a good thing. But even good things can get in the way of serving God well. To serve God well, a person has to do not just any good things that others want him or her to do. You have to do those good things that God has called you to do. And it may take prayer to figure out which good things to turn down. Jesus' disciples feel that Jesus needs to hurry back to Peter's village to keep practicing medicine. What Jesus tells them after his prayer is that he is leaving Peter's village to continue his ministry, not of medicine, but of preaching in other towns. To proclaim the good news is the purpose for which he came. What is needed to serve God well, then, is not endless good things that other people want from you. What is needed for the Lord's service is prayer first. And after that comes fidelity to just those few things that fulfill the particular purpose to which the Lord has called you.